One of the artists tasked with bringing these stories to life is Pixar's Jerome Renft. While Pixar is known for computer animation, every day at its headquarters, Jerome does things the old-fashioned way, with his hands.
It's subconscious and innate. I just love to make stuff.
I want popcorn. Popcorn again.
Being a sculptor just fulfilled that need. I almost feel like it found me. Like I had this desire, and I took my first sculpting class when I got into college. The first project was a life-size self-portrait, and as soon as I finished that, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Jerome's passion has brought to life characters such as Mike and Sully from Monsters, Inc., and even a fish called Nemo.
I usually get brought on when they want to start fleshing out what these characters will look like three-dimensionally. And mostly what I do is pre-visualize 3D design before they spend the time and money to build it in the computer. You're part of that group of people trying to solve aesthetic problems and make aesthetic decisions that help make these things become finished projects. I think water news for Monsters Incorporated, I was very happy with that.
300.
It was very, very complicated, very, very challenging piece. I'm never asked to do the same thing twice. I've done 3 Cars films, and not one of them was like the other. This was during the production of Cars 3, early on. At one point, McQueen was going to try to be in disguise. So whatever disguise we did had to fit over this sort of chassis, and this was the disguise. This story point changed in this whole exercise of making the sculpture became moot, but at the time, this was what this was being used for.
Good job.
It's not so much pride. I feel humbled the fact that this character that's owned by the world now, by, millions of children have grown up with this character. At one point, he was a drawing, and it went in through my eyes and out through my hands. My brother was working at Disney when I was in junior high school, so I remember going and visiting him at the Disney lot and being completely blown away by these projects.
He says, "You heard him, code red, repeat, we are at code red."
Jerome's brother Joe was a legendary Disney and Pixar animator who worked for decades on the company's biggest movies, including some with his brother.
Being able to work with him on any project was sort of a dream come true.
See it, and he's like, "Ah!"
I didn't realize how special it was until he passed.
Joe died in a car accident in 2005. He was just 45 years old.
When he first passed away and I walked into this building, it was really hard, and I was questioning whether I could do it. He wouldn't have wanted that. I have my own career, my own set of standards that I do this work to, and I think that's what my parents taught us both. He influenced me in ways I'm still sort of figuring out. I just miss him. I wish he was here.
Let's comment in the grooves.
Jerome's continued to grow his family's legacy at Disney. But there are fewer and fewer sculptors working in animation today.
The role I've played here is changing. In the early days, the digital modelers they had here came from a computer background, and now they're training artists to use the tool of the computer, and there's incredibly talented digital modelers out there in the world and especially here. I want to be a better sculptor. That's never going to, that, how can I even put it? The impulse to be better at what I do is never, ever going to go away.
What this company is, more than anything, aside from a collection of many talented people and the legacy of Walt Disney, is a great partnership between artists and technologists.
Jake definitely has his own personality, and you can't help but love him when you get to meet him and see him and he's happy to see you. It's a great feeling.
10 minutes.
He's a maintenance droid. Loves his job, he's very dedicated. Jake doesn't talk, so he's more like R2-D2. He uses sounds and colors and lights to communicate. He's got an eye. Yellow, he's happy. Blue, he's sad. Red, he's angry. Gray is, please leave me alone. So how are you feeling about design, Tanner?
Ashley Gerdish works in California.
It's looking pretty good. Ready for the field.
Okay, is there anything that we can do?
As a member of Walt Disney
Mommy,
Imagineering
here.
Research
I
and
want to
Development,
make popcorn.
where she takes her knowledge of technology to create extraordinary ways for guests to interact with the best Disney stories.
The day that he went live outdoors, I was jumping, screaming, laughing, having a character roaming around freely. People were blown away. Everyone was trying to find how he was being controlled. He was his own character, without a puppeteer in the background. I think the unreasonable ideas are the ones that we get the most excited about. Things that we think are impossible or outlandish, we do whatever we can to make that happen. All of the operations partners that I've talked to, that is a good time for them. So I think one of the biggest challenges is the reputation this company has. You've got to be top of your game. We don't just go out and build a robot and say, now what can you do with it? I take a character and say, can I make this character come to life? When we were playtesting Jake in the park, we had a couple of children who would put their hands on his shoulder and just walk right alongside him. They see him as their friend and immediately take to him. Kids would come up and just give him a hug, sit, wrap their arms around him. They would give him a kiss. And you realize the power that these characters have to inspire wonder.
That was from that party. Is it wonderful?
We're constantly updating him, and right now what we're trying to do is refactor some of his code so that he can work a little bit better than he has in the past. More responsive, more reliable. I want him to last forever. You have to be resilient to try and introduce new things into the park and find ways to solve challenges.
Come on
We would love to have our characters speak what we call natural language processing. In the technology terms is still very difficult, and especially in a theme park environment. Very interesting challenge. So we'll see. We'll see. My dream would be to reintroduce some of our characters the way they are on the screen straight into our parks. Dreams are incredibly important, I think, because they can unify us to go after something that alone we might not have been able to do. Living out your dreams in the way that our guests do in the park really is a different way of saying, I can create something that I never thought could exist in the physical world. When you think about what the outcome is of your work, it's millions of faces smiling. I love this guy. It's a great reason to get up every morning.
Oh yay, movies.
Usually when I'm just drawing, it really comes from a feeling inside. It kind of just flows out of my hand, and it's an emotion that I'm trying to put down on paper. Some of the favorite things that I like to draw is my nephews. I have all these great memories with them and experiences with them. I hear them laugh and I hear how they play with each other, and that's kind of where my hand goes. My parents came from Taiwan. My dad came here first in his early 20s on a business trip, and he fell in love with the country. And so he went back to Taiwan and then brought me and my mom. I definitely grew up as a Disney child. I remember having one Disney book, and it was in Chinese, but it was all Disney characters, and my mom would read that to me. And so even though we didn't really recognize the reading, like the pictures told the story, and so we always had a fondness for images.
What's the
I started working in animation, and I was actually at a fork in the road because I was thinking maybe I would go into teaching, because I love working with kids and I thought it'd be great to bring art to education. But as I was preparing for school, I also just applied all over, Disney included, and I remember I got accepted to all the schools that I applied for. But then I got a call from Disney, and it was just no question. Like, I wanted to work at Disney. As a senior illustration manager here, I work with a team of artists and provide them art direction, make sure everything's in line. We take the art direction of the film and we create a style of our own for the books. The first picture book that I worked on here was Sophia the First. I really like this book because I got to add like little flourish designs throughout the book to wrap around the text, and it was really fun to be able to add the little hearts on the eyes, and it felt more personal. It's something that I think as a child I would have done too. I work with the most creative people that I know. So we have the Frozen middle grade cover, and then Winnie and I have been talking about special effects. When a film is in production, we start illustrating the books that go along with the films. We're thinking like a burgundy color that will match Anna's lining. Okay. So it's a very Frozen 2 color, so all the palettes are cohesive. There's books that retell the film, and then there's also books that are extension stories. And as a manager, I guide the team of artists so that they can illustrate a book that looks cohesive, even though there are multiple hands on it. So this is for the Toy Story 4 extension book. One of the things that I really like working on is extension stories, because you get to extend the life of these characters that you fall in love with when you watch the movie. Especially like when I was younger and I would watch this film and I would always wonder, oh, what happens after they get married? Or what happens after this adventure is over? We get this foundation to work with, but we get to take it in so many different directions. Yeah, the book is really fun, and it takes place in a carnival setting, so it's actually really appropriate. I think these extension stories develop this new type of relationship I have with the characters. You experience them even in a closer way because we get to tell like what happens next. I'm helping Jeff with the Frozen 2 covers. One of my favorite parts of the job is that we get to collaborate with the filmmakers. They're the ones that create this world and these people, and to have this firsthand explanation of all this knowledge is what helps us make our books so wonderful. And we had decided on a cool silver ink, so it'll be shimmery, and so it will stand out from the page.
You have everything working in a more analogous color scheme, which is a more limited scheme, but it's much more harmonious to the environment.
You immediately recognize them as Anna and Elsa.
I think it channels the Frozen aesthetic quite a bit.
So another one of my favorite books was Three Little Words. I really love the message of this book, and it's to just keep swimming. I think it's a great positive message for little kids, and it's also something that I tell myself every day. What I love about art is it forces me to find my voice. It allows me a way to express myself. And I've learned to love myself because I learned that everyone expresses themselves differently.
For the artists and the audience, Disney creations are ways to connect with the magic of stories.